Um, all right. Well, welcome to our final day of Gateway presentations. Couple things I wanted to mention before we get started here. One, so we had one student who wasn't able to present Max. He's still not feeling well at home. But what he's going to do is record his Gateway presentation, and we'll make sure that is shared with everybody so that there's a chance. And if he's back tomorrow or on Friday, maybe we could arrange like a little special screening or something like that. But I know he's definitely still gonna do his presentation, and so I'd encourage you guys to take a moment to watch it, and also to reach out to him and just let him know that I know it's really tough to miss your last week of school as a senior and be stuck at home. So if anyone can reach out to him and say, "We love you, Max." The other thing I just wanted to talk about briefly is for those of you in the crowd who keep on hearing about these pathless projects and are wondering a little bit more about them. Just to kind of give you guys an overview, in your senior year at Oak Grove, you have to pitch a project. And the only requirements for this project are that it's really hard, it's challenging, that it'll add purpose to your life, and that it'll give back to the community in some way or another. And so we put you in front of like a really scary panel of all of the muckety-mucks at Oak Grove School, and you have to pitch as if you're like, pitching to Google or something like that. Like, this is a really good idea, it's gonna be awesome. And then we get together and we either give you the yes or the no nod, and you're assigned a mentor to do that, to kind of work your way through this project. And then while all the underclassmen are camping, you have 10 days to execute this project. And so as you can see, and for those of you who've been to all of our presentations, you've seen that
Except that picture.
I'll later, sorry. So as you can see, students choose all sorts of different paths. Yes, I said it. For this project, and so it's wonderful to see. Awesome. Well, I would love to welcome our first senior to the stage, Ame.
Hi guys, I'm Ame, and this is my Gateway presentation. Okay, so who am I? These pictures are from me. The first one is from me in sophomore year, and then the second one is me this year. Those are the Oak Grove pictures I was taken. I think I've changed a lot, actually, but you can judge that for yourself. And now I decided to add this whole thing of some of the hair colors I've had while being at Oak Grove. There's been a lot more, actually, but these are just some of them. I came to Oak Grove with really, really short hair because I actually shaved my head a few months before I came to Oak Grove. So I had that like curly, like pixie cut, I guess, and then I grew it out and I did blonde highlights, and then I did like the e-girl thing in the front, and then I did just like purple, pink, and I've done a lot more things in between. But I think like I just wanted to add this because I think like my hair changes symbolize like my personality growth in a way. Like I've been through it all. Like I feel like I've been a lot of different people throughout my Oak Grove years, and I think that my hair changes like symbolize that perfectly. So I want to talk a little bit about my life before Oak Grove. So I was born and raised in Mexico City. That's where I've lived my whole life before I came to Ojai. And this is the school I went to before Oak Grove. Literally nothing like Oak Grove. The school is called Westhill Institute, and it's like a fancy private school. These are the uniforms I used to wear. And they had an IB program, which just basically means that it's like hell on earth. That's basically what it means. And they're very like academically focused. So I had to take these tests like every 2 months that are called the Measurement of Academic progression or progress, I think, maps. And I used to take them like every 2 months. And basically what you do with these tests is like teachers would place students in like levels for each class. So we had like basic, intermediate, and then high like classes. And me being the overachiever I am, and I just always wanted to be in the highest classes. And I took all the highest classes, and I was drowning in stress and homework, and I like never did anything else. Like it was literally my whole life. And I was at my old school, I also used to take like 12 or 13 classes, which is a lot more than here at Oak Grove. And I just really, really wanted to be in all of the high level classes. I really, I still do care a lot about my grades, but I used to care about my grades a lot. And like, it was the only thing I used to pay attention to. And I was part of the National Junior Honor Society and the National Honor Society. And then I was a mathlete. I used to go to different schools and compete. And I was like, that was everything I cared about. Like, seriously, nothing else was important to me. But obviously that wasn't sustainable. And I had a little bit of a breakdown, I want to say. And so I was like, I need to change. So my parents found Oak Grove for me, and it was very, very different from my old school. But I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. So this leads to the art of academia. So to me, the art of academia is the emphasis a student gives to knowledge and learning. So like I said, I seriously only cared about my grades before I came to Oak Grove. Like nothing else was important to me. And so in math, this grade that you can see here is the absolute worst grade I've ever gotten. And I got this in my 9th grade math class because I did not understand a single thing. Teachers were not very open to having conversations and to having students ask questions. So I kind of just like copied my way through the semester. I didn't really know what to do, so I would just like do my homework with other people and basically just like copy down their answers. And obviously that wasn't good for my test scores, so I didn't do great in tests, and that's the grade I managed to accomplish. Which I know it's still not a bad grade, but for me it was horrifying. But that's just what I could do. But when I came to Oak Grove, I quickly realized that it's very different here, and that teachers genuinely want you to do well, and they're super open to having conversations about it, and that your classmates are going to help you, your teachers are going to help you, and if there's something you're not understanding, everyone's there to support you. And so I quickly got back into the groove of math because I had had some pretty bad teachers before. But as soon as I got in Marie's classroom, I fell in love with math again, and I understood everything. And even when I didn't, I was able to come after school hours or before school hours and ask questions. And that first year I had Shirley at the dorm, and she helped me a lot with math too. And it was just really, really crazy how much I was able to just start learning and not just getting good grades because I'm copying, but just getting good grades because I'm understanding. And that was a big deal for me because I am getting better grades than that B+, and I'm also truly understanding. And so these two are comments from my Algebra 2, which was my first semester with Marie, my first year with Marie. And then the other one is from Calculus, and I did do Calculus honors, and actually I really, really liked it. I think Calculus is really fun, and I don't know. I feel like it's a class worth taking. And yes, I have totally grown in the way that I think about my grades. I'm still I still need academic validation for sure, but I definitely have learned to value learning for the sake of learning, not just for the sake of a grade. For example, in Erin's class, we were reading a book even 2 weeks ago, and I knew that, and because we had this conversation, I knew that we weren't going to be graded on it. We weren't going to have to do assignments or quizzes or anything, so I could have easily just skipped out on it because there was no grade attached to it. But I actually read the whole book and did a whole bunch of annotations and spent a long time doing a lot of like analysis for myself, just for myself with that book. And that was just like, I realized that I do really appreciate learning just for the sake of learning and not just for the sake of a letter that on a paper. And I think that will definitely help me in college, just that growth. And now transitioning into the art of caring and relationship. To me, this art is the way we interact with oneself and others. And my focus question was, how has living in a boarding house changed the way you view relationships? So I came to Oak Grove really with like the mentality of, I don't really want to be here and I don't really want to make friends and I don't really care about making friends. And so I just kind of isolated myself from the group and just did my own thing. But living at Besson House just kind of forced me to hang out with people, and because you live with them. And so you just kind of have to hang out with people. And that just was great because I made my first friend at the dorm. Her name is Annalise. And she was like my big sister that whole first year. And she like held me so much and just, she like changed my perspective on relationship and just made me realize that we all need relationships and that no person can just be by themselves alone without relying on other people. And so quickly after that, I started dating Liam, and obviously that's been like my strongest relationship throughout my Oak Grove years. Last year, actually, I was the only international student at the dorm, and that was really, really lonely. And it just also made me realize that people need people. And this year, we had Mary came back, and then 2 new international students, and it's been the best year at Oak Grove. Like, it's been so great just having people to hang out with and develop relationships with. And I've just realized that having friends is really cool, and it's worth getting hurt. Like, because I'm just really scared. I'm really scared of people like getting tired of me and then just like not wanting to be my friend anymore. And just that fear of abandonment just really gets in the way of me forming connections. And so I haven't really, and honestly, like, I do want to say that with my class, I just haven't really taken the time to form those relationships. And I feel bad for them because they only see me inside the classroom, and I'm not the most enjoyable to be around when I'm in the classroom. Again, I need academic validation, and I'm a teacher's pet, and I will always be the one to remind the teacher that we had homework. But I just feel like, so with COVID, I didn't get a chance to go on any camping trips, and then on the Hawaii trip that everyone's been mentioning, I didn't go because the night before the trip, I was not feeling well. And I had taken like 7 tests, and they were all negative, but then I was like, there's something not right. So then, like, a couple hours before I had to leave, I actually tested positive, and I was literally at LAX in the airport, like, ready to go. And I just found out I had COVID. So that was really, really difficult to not go on the camping trip. And I thought, like, I was like, I'm going to make so many connections on that trip. I'm really going to put myself out there. And I didn't get to go. So that was really rough, and it still like makes me feel sad that I just didn't get the chance to bond with my peers outside of the school setting. But again, I definitely think that when I have needed my class and when I have needed those connections and when I have reached out, which isn't often, but they've always been there. And so this picture at the top, basically last year, it was my birthday, and I couldn't hang out with my friends for reasons, for circumstances that were not under my control. So, and I couldn't hang out with Liam, and I couldn't hang out with my friends. And I was like, I don't know what to do. It's my birthday. I'm here. My family's not here. My friends are not here. Like, what do I do? So I decided to reach out to a bunch of people, like people I had never hung out with, and just was like, let's go to the beach. And everyone said yes, which was really surprising. I didn't think they would want to hang out with me because we'd like never talked before. But it was a really, really memorable day for me. And it was really cool that I was able to just reach out to people, and they were like, yeah, let's hang out, even though they weren't my friends. And I really like that day will always stick with me. And it was just a really cool thing to see that if you reach out, people will reciprocate. So here are some videos of me and Mary at the beach. Yeah, that day Mary was learning how to surf. And then here are some videos of me and everyone else dancing at a showcase. Okay, thanks. Anyways, the art of engagement. To me, the art of engagement is how involved we are in the things we are a part of. And the focus question I chose is, what is an experience that has challenged you, pushed you out of your comfort zone, and ultimately helped you grow? So let's talk about the fact that before I came to Oak Grove, I never was involved in nature at all. Again, I grew up in Mexico City. Nature was never just accessible to me, and the value of nature was never something that I grew up with. So I came here and I was really uncomfortable with the nature piece and the outdoor piece, and just anything that wasn't inside of the classroom was not my forte. So I was not excited about that, and we can see that because so Jennifer said those things about me my first semester. So I needed improvement in everything, basically. I was just not doing well. I was not participating. I, in fact, faked an injury to not play. And that is, yeah. But basically last year after I came back because I was sent back to Mexico for 6 months because of COVID at the end of my sophomore year. But when I came back, I was like, no, I'm not going to waste my time left at Oak Grove, and I'm going to start saying yes to a lot of new experiences. And so I did. And I went on an optional 1 day, 2-day, 1 night backpacking trip. And none of my friends were going to that. It was just me and people I didn't really talk to. But I decided to do it. And I did it. And I am so proud of myself for doing it. I don't know that I will go camping again soon. But I'm really proud of myself for doing it. And I was so shocked that I could walk that far and carry a 20-pound backpack and still be fine. I was not tired. I was fine. And that was really surprising for me. And after that, I decided I really wanted to start connecting with nature a lot more because Liam loves nature and it's his whole thing. And I wanted to start getting into it too and see what was so interesting about it. And I did. And so this picture of me smiling, basically after that backpacking trip, which you can see some pictures of the backpacking trip right here. But after that trip, I decided I was a nature expert. And so I went to the river bottom by myself. And it was the second time I had ever gone. And my phone was dying. There was barely any battery left on it. And I went by myself and I got lost. And I didn't know how to get out. And I was there figuring it out for 3 hours. But I was still having fun, as you can see in that picture. I was just embracing the situation. And I made it out. So it was all good. And after that, I've started getting into environmental activism. And to me, it's really, really important. And I've really I still would rather look at nature from afar than be in nature. But I definitely, I do crave nature nowadays. I crave going out and doing a 10-minute walk. That's my limit. But I do actually really, really appreciate nature, and I appreciate what nature does for us humans. And so I think that my way of giving back is just by participating in activism. And this other picture is me in my soccer uniform, and I played. I did not fake an injury this time. I was still bad, but I tried. And
it's the effort that matters.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of myself for trying. So this is some people going on a walk at the river bottom. I love water and nature. Before I came to Ojai, I had never been in water that wasn't like a pool or the ocean. And so now that I get to go to like river bottoms and stuff, I'm like, I will go into any water. I'm so excited about it.
Once you call it out, it won't happen.
And this is Ollie. So basically, a random day, it was really cold, and so we decided to drive all the way up the 33 and see if there was any snow, and there was, and it was really awesome and really fun. And I do actually really appreciate nature now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the art of aesthetics. To me, the art of aesthetics is the appreciation for beauty and art. So my focus question is, what is an artistic or creative talent that you've discovered in high school? So, like I said, I grew up being really academically driven. I'm pretty sure you guys knew that before this presentation, but I did not grow up like thinking about creativity as something that was worth my time, because my sister is really, really artistic, and like she's like, I always thought of me as like the intellectual child and her like the artistic one, and like I didn't want to like go into her domain because she's really talented at what she does, and I knew that I wasn't talented, and I love being good at what I do, and when I'm not good, I don't like doing things. So that's kind of why I don't like playing soccer and those things. But when I came to Oak Grove, I quickly realized that people at Oak Grove had 3 things in common. Now, one thing was they're all so creative and talented. Like literally everyone plays an instrument somehow, or like learns in like 2 seconds. Then the second thing is that everyone just like has so many connections. Like everyone is just friends with staff, with little kids, with like everyone. And then the third thing that I found is that everyone is just really open to saying yes. And so I really wanted to be an Oak Grove person when I came, and I didn't really think that I was an Oak Grove person. So I decided to start trying things. And I've done music every semester since I came, except for one, but I've done music for almost every semester, and it's been so incredibly fun. I also did 2 plays. And my sister, her thing is theater, so that was really scary to like step into her zone. But I actually ended up being the main character of A Peasant of El Salvador. And I also was the librarian in Matilda. And although those experiences were really, really challenging for me, I look back at those memories really fondly, and just I'm so glad that I tried it. I probably won't do it again, but I had a really good time just trying it. And I also started playing the drums, and I also, here's a picture of me playing the drums, and then there's another picture of me playing the drums at another showcase. And I love playing the drums. It's really fun. I'm not good at it, so I do get frustrated, but I still have fun sometimes. And then poetry. So I've always written poetry. That's something I have written for so long, but never shared it. But when I came to Oak Grove, I decided I'm going to start doing it. And so I took creative writing and on my first year. And Travis like kind of said that he wants to see what I could create if I didn't criticize my own work. Like if I wasn't so hard on my art. And so this other comment is from last semester from Aaron Gardner, my poetry teacher, and he actually just like talks about how much of a prolific writer I am and how much I'm willing to share and be vulnerable, and that's to me just symbolizes huge growth, because I started like sharing my poetry being really afraid of what other people might think and of it not being good. But now I don't care. I just put it out there, and I have my own like Instagram where I put some of my poetry, and I just share my poetry, and I'm a lot less hard on myself on it. And I think that just symbolizes some of the growth that I've had in this specific art. Okay, so now my Pathless project. So when I met Annalise, I kind of just started seeing what the traditions were for an Oak Grove senior, because she was a senior my first year. And I quickly realized that the main three things were the gateway, the Pathless project, and the graduation speech. And so I immediately started like thinking about it, me being the overachiever that I am. I started thinking about those three things and what I want them to look like. And for my Pathless project, I decided I wanted to teach sex ed to middle schoolers. Yeah, it's a big thing to take on, for sure. But I started like thinking I wanted it to be in a public middle school just because I also wanted to like make sure that kids that don't have comprehensive curriculums to get that opportunity to learn. But unfortunately, that didn't end up working out, and I was very frustrated about it. And that was a huge challenge, just like being able to get my project to be what I wanted it to be, because I love planning and then I hate it when things don't go my way. And so that was definitely really hard. But I ended up changing my project a little bit, and I decided to teach these lessons at Oak Grove. And so I taught the 7th graders here at Oak Grove sex ed. And it was really actually so awesome. Like, they are an amazing class to teach. I'm so glad I ended up teaching them because they were so respectful and responsive, and I don't know, it was a great Pathless project. And it took me a while. I had to like get the curriculum that they currently have, then write my own curriculum, like filling in the gaps where I didn't see that, like with information that I didn't think they were having. Then I had to create my whole lesson plan and then divide my lesson plan, make sure it was like 1 hour long, and it was a whole thing. Like, it was a lot of work. But luckily I started working on it as soon as possible, and so I didn't feel like it was a lot of work because I was doing some work every day leading up to it. But it was great, and I'm so glad that I got to teach them. And there were definitely some like problems along the way, but at the end I just learned that if you try hard and if you are flexible, things will work out. Maybe they won't work out the way you originally want them to work out, but they will work out. And that's just something that I've learned, that instead of just getting upset when things don't go exactly my way, I should just shift and just be flexible and change as things evolved. And then these are some emails, and basically that I was just in communication with people from the Ojai Unified School District, and they were basically saying I couldn't teach in middle school because I'm not a trained professional to talk about these things. And so that was frustrating, but at the end it all worked out. And these are some of the slides that I taught them. And I bet all of you want to have that conversation with 7th graders now. Like, it sounds so fun. But it was actually so great. And then, yeah, so looking back at my OGS years. So if I could choose one artifact that encapsulates my life at Oak Grove, what would that article be? And so I was having some trouble because I think, like, for me, my Oak Grove years have been it's been really crazy. Like, I got here and I didn't like it, and then I started to like it, but just as I started to like it, I had to go back to Mexico for COVID, and then I came back, and then junior year was just like a blur for everyone, I'm sure, and then senior year, and I had really high expectations for my senior year, and I thought I was going to be best friends with everyone in my class, and that I was going to have just a perfect year, and of course that did not happen, and it didn't happen. But like I said, I was flexible with life and just let things take their course, and I learned a lot. And so it's been a crazy ride for me, but it's been so incredibly healing for me to be at Oak Grove. Like, it's been a really, really impactful moment of my life, and I know that I will always look back at these years at Oak Grove and just be so eternally grateful that I got to come here. And so I just wanted to encapsulate all of that, and it was hard, but I ended up putting here the poem I performed on Showcase, and it's basically a poem like thanking the people that I am the closest with in this community, and just kind of reflecting a little bit about how I'm feeling about going to college and just everything. And I thought that was the perfect artifact for that. And I'm sure those videos will be up if you want to hear that poem. And then I'm going to do a little run through my years. So this is sophomore year. Yeah. These pictures are all from sophomore year, and then me and Liam having to FaceTime like every single day because of COVID. And this is my prom outfit when we had that online prom that first year. Then this is junior year. We were back on campus, but it was all crazy and I don't know. And this was my next prom outfit, and yeah. And then this is senior year. So like a lot more people and a lot more things, and I had just such a crazy, like amazing year. And the pictures at the bottom are people in my class in their prom outfits, and it was a really great year, and I've learned just so incredibly much from this year specifically. So life after OGS. Now, like I said, I grew up really like extremely focused at school, so I always thought my goal in life was just to go to a really prestigious like big name school. That's all I wanted. And so I was really, really stressed out when the whole applying to college like period came. And I was actually thinking maybe I would be a better applicant if I had just stayed in Mexico, because then I would have an IB diploma and I would probably have like 1,000 like badges of honor and be valedictorian. Like I always wanted, like I would have all of these things in name and in paper to put into my applications. And I didn't have that at Oak Grove. And so I was thinking like, I was just feeling like I made the wrong choice. But then it just hit me that I would not be the person that I am now if I stayed at West Hill, and I would just not have the communication skills, the relationship skills, the just the openness to trying new things. All of those things would just not be me. Like I would just be a completely different person, and I would not have been a well-rounded applicant for college at all. Like I would have, like college would have seen that about me, that I'm not a good applicant overall, because all I have going for me is academic stuff. And so I just like, it just hit me that Oak Grove was the perfect place for me to go to, and I was going to do fine anywhere I landed. And so, yeah, I applied to college. I did not get into my very top choice, which was Yale. And there were some schools I didn't get into, some schools I did. I was overall really happy with the schools I got into, but of course, not getting into Yale was like a difficult thing to overcome, because it just had been my top one school for years and years. But at the end, I was choosing between going to Berkeley and Rochester, University of Rochester in upstate New York. And everyone wanted me to go to Berkeley. Everyone wanted that for me. My parents wanted that for me. My family wanted that for me. Like everyone just wanted that. And in part, it's just a lot of people in my life in Mexico don't actually know these colleges. They just know the name. And so, yeah, of course, going by the name, Berkeley is a big name. And I was really inclined to go there. Like I was so close to choosing that, but it just did not feel right for me. And it did not, like there were just some things that just were not going to work out for me. And I ended up choosing to go to University of Rochester. And that's where I'm going to be next fall. And I'm so excited for it. I'm really nervous about the weather change for sure. But I'm really, really excited because they have small class sizes. They have an amazing medical school there on campus, which means that I'll be able to get clinical experience, shadow physicians, and just really get acquainted with research and work to be in medical school. And I'm so excited about that. But I also did choose Rochester, like I said, because it's a smaller and more tight-knit community than Berkeley. And I only learned that I really appreciate those types of communities because I've been at Oak Grove. And that's how I realized that being in a smaller class and being in a more tight-knit community just really works for me and my learning. And yeah, like I said, I'll be majoring in neuroscience. I'm going to go to medical school after that, and I am thinking of being a neurologist or a neurosurgeon. Of course, the plan might change. I really hope it doesn't because I always have a hard time with that. But basically, I have the next maybe like 30 years planned out for me. And I'm really, really excited to go there. And this is a video of me reacting when I didn't get into Yale. So we'll see him.
Is this before you saw it?
Yeah. This is the reaction, guys.
Stop. Yeah, that's it.
So okay. Basically, for me, that is huge. Because I was thinking I was gonna like have a whole identity crisis when I didn't get into Yale. I was thinking I was gonna sob and scream and like really not want to go to college anymore. Like I was thinking it was gonna be the end of the world. And like that was it. Like that was just my reaction. And then I moved on. Like I didn't even cry. I didn't even think about it anymore. I was like, why? Like if they don't want me, they don't want me. I don't want them. Like. So that just shows my growth. And yeah, I'm really excited for what the future holds. Thank you. Okay, so I just want to show that Ollie and Lori got us Best in House hats. It's just like the best thing ever. And I also brought these shoes because when I came and visited Oak Grove, these were the shoes I was wearing. And these are the shoes I'm wearing now, cowboy boots. So that just symbolizes a lot of growth. And yeah, any questions?
Thank you.
What makes you interested in neurology?
Okay, so it's a long thing, but I've always been really interested in the brain and the human body and just how fascinating the brain is as an organ. It's like just, for me, it's the coolest thing because it's such an enigma to everyone still, and there's just so much to learn from it, and that's the short answer.
Where does poetry fit into medical school?
So the thing is, it does because technically it doesn't, but it fits because I'm gonna make it fit. And I'm gonna make sure that I'm still doing the things that I love, like writing poetry and drumming and all of those things that I've learned to love. I'm still gonna give them time and space, not to be good at them, but just because I enjoy them.
Okay. How are you gonna make time for like spending time in nature? I don't know. I haven't been to Rochester like a ton, but I'm
Yeah.
and it's not super.
So where I'm gonna be on campus, there's a lot of nature actually surrounding it. The problem for me is gonna be the weather for sure, but I'm sure Liam will force me to spend time in nature when we're up there in the East Coast. Yeah. It just makes me, it's kind of like what Earl was talking about yesterday. It's just so like, it's like a reset button. It's just great. Especially when it's in nature. And for me, that's like a crazy thing, just water in nature. Yeah.
One more question because we got a full load today.
Okay. What made you choose Oak Grove when you were transferring from?
So basically, my parents picked it for me, right? But there were two choices: a really rigorous, academically rigorous school that was an all-girl like Catholic school, and Oak Grove. And so I hated both choices, but Oak Grove was the one I hated the least. And I'm so glad I didn't go to that other school. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, okay. Okay. right, hopefully that's good. Okay. Hi. Hi. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Swin, preferably known as Gray. I'm a senior here at Oak Grove, and I began attending Oak Grove after attending public school at Nordhoff for my freshman and half of sophomore year. Sorry. So, unlike most of my classmates, I actually got to choose to come to Oak Grove. My parents gave me the option to either stay at Nordhoff or come here, and what originally caught my eye about being at Oak Grove was that the school gave me like a lot of creative freedoms to participate in studio art, music, and theater, which is something that I really appreciated. And the majority of these options were not available to me at Nordhoff because of grades and stuff. So I did a shadow day before I transferred in January, but even then the shadow day only kind of like scratched the surface of what Oak Grove life would really be like for me. More on that later. And the pic on left is me when I first came to Oak Grove, and the right one was taken just a few weeks ago. My ability to learn as a student and an animator has changed significantly over my high school years, and I'm happy to say that even though there were some mental health complications that came with me coming to Oak Grove, I'm in a way better place right now than I was when I first came to the school, and I've improved a lot. And for my college years, thank you. For my college years, I want to go to Santa Barbara Community College for the spring semester and then reapply to animation colleges, so that's my goal as of right now. And then for art of academia, to me, doesn't just mean getting good grades. I feel like it also means learning the methods to achieve them. And if you think about the big picture, teachers at this school are only here to teach curriculum for like a brief period of our high school lives. And like, you know, it's basically like it goes by extremely fast. I'm graduating in 2 days and it's gone by really fast and in the blink of an eye. So even though it might feel like forever, these things that the teachers teach you are only here for a brief period. But something that I found that is really helpful is being able to teach yourself how to learn is a tool that will last a lifetime and will exceed your days at high school. So for example, at the beginning of my senior year, I didn't have good tactics to study. I only dedicated the time that I spent to subjects which I understood or that I could wrap my head around, such as history and English, but ones that involve maths or sciences, I kind of like just let it happen. And at the very beginning of this year specifically, I was passing classes, but when the time came for me to learn subjects that I wasn't really keen on, it became a roadblock for my overall grade. So I had to figure out how to do something and how to actually learn rather than procrastinating and let whatever subjects happen just, you know. So I decided to explore different note-taking methods at the start of my senior year. So my artifact to represent that growth is my Remarkable tablet. It's out of battery right now, so I can't show it up here, but it's a small tablet that holds all of my notes, ideas, and it's a tool that helped with my note-taking process to become more fluid and it trained me to approach problems with more intention and the desire to learn and the desire to learn and understand materials than before. I am not saying that a tablet will solve all of your schoolwork problems. That's one thing. I am saying if I had this device even then back in 2020 when I first came to the school, I don't think I actually would have benefited from it very much. I would have taken the notes, but I probably wouldn't have studied from them actually, and that would have completely just like ruined everything. And so the important thing to remember is that you don't need a tablet like this in order to take efficient notes. And there's no one way to take notes either, which is something that I found. There will be some classes, of course, like for example, Will's class, that will like teach you some ways to take notes, but when you go up the grades and then out into the world, there's no specific way to take notes, and you can just find whichever one fits your perspectives. The important thing is that you try new methods out and find which ones work and which ones don't. Anytime I came across one way to study that I didn't fully involve and I didn't really benefit from it that much. Anytime that ever happened, I learned from that, but I also moved on to the next one and I kept trying until I found a really good one. So how has high school helped me discover my strengths and deal with my challenges? I chose this question because my growth through high school has developed in a variety of ways. Over the years, I've had extremely difficult problems to overcome, both academically, mentally, creatively, but each one ultimately served as a turning point in my growth. This didn't just apply to schoolwork, but I feel like it also applied to my relationships with my friends and family. And anytime I came across a problem, I approached it with the mindset of the first step was acknowledging that there was actually a problem, a hurdle to overcome, rather than just assuming that everything was fine. It's a very hard thing to accept defeat and know that you're wrong, but it's a very brave thing to do as well because it's the first step towards improvement. And the second step was allowing myself to seek critique from my friends and family and people who knew more about the subjects or the problems than I did. And it really helped me with completing art projects, schoolwork, etc. And it was something that to this day really, really benefits me. And anytime I ever came to a situation that I had to overcome by myself, I revisited these steps. And for the majority of my senior year, they've served as a big improvement to help my communication and learning skills. I do not want to play the video again. Hold up. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Art of communication. When people think of communication, we might think of chatting, talking, or sending emails to our friends. And for me, art of communication means being able to reciprocate interactions with others, both while verbally talking, but I feel like also listening. Listening is a huge part of the art of communication that I think is kind of overshadowed. It has to be an equal push and pull between a conversation of two or more people. So one person could be speaking, but the other person could be spacing out and not listening. Or one person will be willing to listen, but the other person doesn't want to speak. And if none of them want to speak or listen, that's just called an awkward silence, and I try to stay away from that as much as possible. Talking and listening with your mental as well as physical engagement is good communication, but it does have to be reciprocated between two or more people. This isn't something that I was always good at going into high school, and in fact, to this day, it's still a work in progress, and I'm still trying to get better with it. So has my ability to communicate improved over my high school career? I chose this question because at the beginning of my high school, my communication was originally dull and rather closed off. I was the type of person to listen rather than to speak up about my own perspective, and I feel like it only added on to my people-pleasing habits, and going into the lockdown and being the only remote student made it worse. Victoria and I were the only students into our junior year who chose to still remain remote, and our ability to communicate and ask questions was suddenly like thrown out the window, and it was very, very frustrating. However, I still made a deliberate effort to keep up with my schoolwork and asked for help from my teachers to the best of my ability, and my artifact to represent that effort is this email that I sent to Eric asking for the password to the Zoom room. Though it's small, it shows that I feel like even while I was remote, I was still trying my best to overcome these problems and effectively communicate to my teachers if there was a problem. And I feel like this can also apply to just anybody to anybody within my current life as well. Even while in person, I'm still improving to communicate with people and have good conversations and improve those skills all the time. It was tough to come back in senior year after my social skills were strained, but when I returned in person, I worked really hard to regain my confidence. I met Harrison Love, who was just as socially anxious as I was when we started our senior year. And through the journey of our friendship, I feel like we both learned how to equally communicate and reciprocate meaningful conversations rather than just keeping quiet about our own perspectives. And I'm so glad that I made an effort to work on my communication skills with him. It was scary at first because I had an entire year and a half of just no talking to anybody, but I took that chance, and because of that, he is now one of my closest friends. Thank you. So for me, art of aesthetics. Art of aesthetics means appreciating the beauty of the nature and the art that surrounds us at Oak Grove. And when I first came to the school, I wasn't very consciously aware of, or attentive of the campus and the nature that it gave. At first, I was very closed-minded, and I only stuck to doing art or animating in the same style, drawing and editing. And though it was very repetitive, it was really the only thing that I knew how to do. So I just stuck with it, and I didn't expand my horizons in that way. I was very preoccupied in my own world, but when the pandemic struck and I was forced into lockdown, I suddenly missed the nature and the art that this campus gave me, as well as not just around here, but just Ojai and the world out there. Now today in my senior year, I draw the people, plants, and animals that come and go, and I've learned to accept constructive criticism and allow myself to be inspired by this community and the things that it has to offer. And while I observe the life around me, I also have to keep it contained somehow. So my artifact for the art of aesthetics is my new sketchbook. I have examined the things around me at Oak Grove. For example, this picture, also shown on here, is a picture that I drew of my senior class and some of the kids playing ping pong at the high school lawn. And even though today I don't take the life around me for granted like I used to before the lockdown, there's something that being in quarantine taught me. It's that you should remember to slow down and observe. Life moves extremely fast, and we often move fast with it. And part of being an artist is being able to observe the life around you and kind of take it all in if you want to learn how to draw it, or just for the pure just want to get inspired, or basically taking any motivation or inspiration from that. However, this concept of observing the life as an artist doesn't just have to apply to artists. It can also apply to anybody because, you never know, the cases could rise up and everything that we have right here could be gone again, so we never know. How have I learned to push myself creatively? I chose this question because as an artist, I'm continuing to ask myself that every single day. My levels of motivation and creativity have improved over the years that I've been at the school. I started animating in 2017, and when I came to Oak Grove from Nordoff, as I said before, I only stuck to one style of animating or editing. Examples of this included making a walk cycle, or for most of my short animations, and usually using the same character over and over again for 2 years straight. But during the time of lockdown and with college applications coming closer, I had no choice but to expand my artistic horizons if I were to be able to be noticed by the art schools and the colleges that I wanted to get into. I didn't end up getting accepted into most of my top animation schools, but I'm still making efforts to dive out of my comfort zone and pushing the limits of my creativity. So I started learning After Effects and learning how to use acrylic and gouache mediums and other forms of art. And After Effects is the industry standard for editing animations. And at first I was really scared to go into it because I'd never done it before, since it's a program that I had no prior knowledge to. But I told myself that if I could already teach myself how to animate, I didn't mean to go that. I told myself if I could already teach myself how to animate, I could also learn this new program even if it were hard. So I pushed myself artistically, and within a span of about 3 months, I made a personal animation called Kingdom Dance, which is shown to the right. I am really proud of how it turned out, and since I feel like it truly displays my improvement and desire to learn from my previous attempts as an artist and try new things and to take risks, basically. And the proof of that even more is that it even won a scholarship for the Ojai Studio Artists, which, yeah. And so, anytime I feel discouraged about going out of my comfort zone, I look back at the animation, and it's kind of like proof to show that if I try hard and if I really push myself out of my limits and my comfort zone, I can do amazing things.
That's right.
Thank you. So art of engagement. For me, the art of engagement means taking part in a specific task or community that in an authentic and inquisitive way. That's a very broad take on it, and I feel like each person can interpret it differently. For example, it could be working as a team or setting goals for yourself. It could be doing community service or joining a club or band. This falls, I feel like, under the umbrella categories of trying new things, like I said before, and stepping out of comfort zones and keeping myself motivated to get tasks done. In what ways have I become more self-motivated and or self-directed? I chose this question because I'm actively engaging in the arts as well as improving efforts to talking with my loved ones and my peers. My participation and self-motivation in the surrounding community, I feel like plays a big part in the reason why I'm able to graduate. If I didn't put myself out there and try my best to get involved with collaboration projects, I don't think I'd be here right now. And the first community-based project I really ever did in high school was the production of the play Matilda in 2020. But going into lockdown, obviously that had to be rearranged due to me being remote, and I wasn't even able to participate in the next year either. So that was completely out the window. But my ability to function in the art of engagement was sacrificed for the time being remote. Even though that happened, I do feel like the biggest example of my improvement with the art of engagement this year was the production of the play The Sound of Music, which happened in March. And the motivation to do this play did not come overnight. It started with my physics class this year when my grades started dropping, like I said before, and partially relating back to the art of academia, I had to push myself to be more motivated. And even though I wanted to audition for the play, it felt rather forced, and I had doubts about my commitment, but I became burnt out by the time that the auditions actually rolled around, and I eventually just dropped it. And it prevented my efforts from reaching their full potential. And this problem was applied to any long-term projects that took big blocks of time to create. Sometimes along these projects, I would lose countless amounts of motivation and inspiration to actually finish them. And when I was remote, I was at the height of my art block, and my motivation was completely just dead. But as months went on and as the auditions passed, I discovered in time that the reason I was so depleted of energy and inspiration was because I was scared that I would pour too much of myself into the project and burnout would take over. And I found out the goal is that you need to be able to take care of yourself because people face so much burnout because of this. People always have somewhere to go, work, school, projects, etc., and we can be in a rush to get somewhere. But if you dive into constant work, projects, and studying, you'll leave no room for the other important things like eating, sleeping, and talking to people you love. This is one of the most important lessons I learned throughout my high school years. How are you able to engage in goals and the things that you love without taking care of yourself? And I'm extremely lucky that Richa came up to me during the holiday market and asked if I could play a minor role. With the knowledge in mind that I needed to take care of myself during the play, I was reinvested in the production. As we rehearsed, I made sure to get plenty of sleep before the run-throughs and the opening nights. And whenever I felt discouraged, I often connected with Harrison, who played Captain Von Trapp in the play. Good job again, buddy. And these two pieces are my next artifacts. I made a promotional poster for The Sound of Music, and the video played here is a really special moment for me. It's when Harrison Parker and I were the only seniors. We were the only seniors in play, and we were all called up to receive flowers. And it was a really exhilarating feeling to be up there with them. Even though I played a minor role, I still felt really connected, and it was a great bonding experience for me and the people who worked on the show. And I won't be doing any more theater programs after this, since I want to really focus on animation. But I can look back at this moment that I shared with the cast and crew and think about how my willingness to engage with them is what brought me out of my shell. Okay, turn this. Thank you. Right around the time that Sound of Music concluded, we began working on our Pathless projects. And by then, I was more than ready to engage in another project to give back to the community of Oak Grove. I do not want to play the video again. Please stop. Okay. Okay. So this is my Pathless project. After the play, it was time for us to start working on them. And I wanted to make an LGBTQ and POC representational art installation for these minorities. And I wanted to be installed on campus. It's currently hanging up in front of the art building. And the art piece was originally going to be a mural, but upon learning that this summer the art building was going to be refurbished, and because of time constraints, I decided to go with the option to make a banner. It helped me to sort of bring a sense of purpose into my life because I was able to learn more about my community and the people I shared relationships with, especially being someone of Asian descent as well as bisexual. So prior to this project being worked on, I had only a general understanding of the history behind these minorities, and during the development of my project, I had to do a lot of research that I was previously really unaware of, and and while diving into this research, I just kept getting more and more reinvested in it. And by the end, my perspective on these subjects had changed so much, and I was learning a lot. And because of that, I was even able to provide a key with the definitions after this research, which is also hanging up next to the banner. It took 2 months to plan and craft, all while actively engaging with the teachers and doing research about it. And this was the first huge project that I planned, arranged, and executed by myself without any, it was really just all up to me. And it made me a bit nervous to think about that this project would be on display for the whole school to see. And because of my nervousness, there were times where a considerable amount of my motivation were depleted. But thankfully, with the help of my art teacher, Brian, I eventually completed it, and all while applying the mindset of being able to take care of myself and get enough sleep and eat enough. If I didn't have this mindset while going into my Pathless project, I don't think it would have been completed. And I really had to keep reminding myself to take care of myself while this project was extending. And I'm thankful that I listened to my intuition on that as well. I'm happy that the banner will be able to be shown as a beacon of hope for the future kids of Oak Grove. It shows that anyone can be themselves, whether whatever skin color you are, who you love, or who you identify yourself as. And I had to go through several redesigns as well while meeting with my mentor and art teacher. The most challenging part, I think, for this project was getting the colors right because I didn't want to make it too oversaturated or too complicated. So I spent time trying to simplify it, and I'm actually proud of how it came out. I feel like this project will influence my future greatly, knowing that I can make a change in a community, even if it's a small one such as Oak Grove. And going into college, I want to tell stories and create artistic representations for all kinds of minorities such as this. And now with the final art piece installed, every time I walk past the art building, I feel more confident to keep on pursuing my artistic goals and dreams. Thank you. Looking back at my life at Oak Grove, the final artifact that I think sums up my high school experience overall is this picture of me in February of 2020 at the school's Holy Celebration. The years I experienced here are chaotic and messy, but I feel like also colorful in their own ways. And the picture taken to the right was just I had come into Oak Grove. It was right before the pandemic, and I had no idea what I was in for. But no matter how messy it got, I turned out fine in the end. And looking to the future, my artifact to represent the days ahead is this mug that I got for my birthday, which says, "I'm an animator, what's your superpower?" I feel like the animators in the industry would have this on their desk if they're working, and it reminds me that my imagination is powerful and it's a tool to help my motivation and creativity flourish. I'm planning on taking a gap semester this coming fall, and after the gap semester, like I said, I plan to go to SVCC to get general education out of the way. And I'm deeply excited about developing my skills more and being more creative, and because of that, I want to reapply to other animation schools such as CalArts, USC, and UCLA. Even though I'm uncertain of the future, I'm more excited than ever to keep pushing my creativity to new heights. And to close off my speech, I would like to show all of you the rest of my personal animations, since I think this is a project that really encapsulates my ability to grow and change as an artist. And it really shows my full potential. And it reminds me to try new things, to take risks, and to dance in the rain rather than waiting for the storm to pass, or whatever that saying is. This is Kingdom Dance. For those of you who've seen this animation, just bear with me for the people who haven't. Let's see. That's loud. Thank you for that. Why did this stop presenting? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, thank you for watching my gateway speech. Any questions? Yes, Steph.
What kind of animation do you want to do?
I want to study character animation, like for 2D animation and like comics like that. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the animation about?
It was based off of kind of like a D&D roleplay server that I take part of, and these are characters that me and my friends have created. So it's very out of context, but it's an inside story kind of. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
let's go ahead and bring Victoria up to the stage.
You might want to bring the mic up a little bit, girl. There you go.
Okay. Hi. Wait, can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So, hi, my name's Victoria. I've been going to Oak Grove for 13 years now. And yeah. Currently, I am the longest student at Oak Grove. So, that's pretty rad. So as I realized that graduation's getting a little too close for comfort, I am going to be attending Santa Barbara City College and then transferring out to UCSB. So yeah. So the art of academia. So what the art of academia means to me is having knowledge in every subject and have discipline in studying the core subjects. So for my focus question, I chose what is a particular subject that you have been challenged by and or that you have come to love? And why I chose this focus question. So I chose this focus question specifically because I recognize the evolution of my relationship with academia, and history specifically was like the subject that made me choose this focus question. And so my artifact is my first set of history notes and then the latest set of my history notes. So, when I did my first set of history notes, I absolutely hated history and I would rather jump off a cliff than do it. So yeah. And then for some reason, I don't know why, but I slowly just started liking history. I think it kind of came with like the World Wars and I thought that was kind of interesting. And if you know me, I kind of like that type of stuff. So yeah. So then like history just became my favorite thing in the entire world and I love just like talking about it and yeah. So yeah, that's my second set of history notes and I saw like a huge improvement. So the art of communication. So the art of communication is to listen without interruption and have the ability to work together with someone else and being able to articulate yourself in an effective way. So my focus question was there a breakthrough moment in terms of being able to communicate with a particular teacher or with adults in general? And why I chose this focus question is because I had like a lot of trouble communicating with my teachers when I first started high school because I was so used to just having a teacher constantly remind me to do stuff that when I entered high school and there was a little bit more freedom, I was lost. It was really bad. And yeah. And so I feel like I've gotten way better with communicating with my teachers and yeah. So my artifact is 2 of my very first emails to Russ. So here's the second one. And then also my 2 most recent emails to Russ. So yeah. And this artifact, like, I feel like it really shows my improvement in trying to, like, communicate with my teachers because it took me, like, 5 hours to find an early email to Russ that wasn't just from him and not me responding back. So, yeah. And then recently, I have, like, 400 emails to him, so, yeah. So the art of aesthetics. The art of aesthetics having the ability to appreciate beauty wherever I go and to express myself using artistic means. So my focus question was, in what way has high school helped you discover and appreciate beauty? And the reason I chose this focus question is because I feel like I grew a lot over my time at Oak Grove with self-expression. And I developed my creative skills, if that were in art or in music, which I love dearly. And I was able to explore kind of newer things, which was specifically art for me because I thought I was terrible, and thanks to Mia, she was like really supportive, and that was awesome. And so by discovering my passions at the Oak Grove campus, I learned how to appreciate like anything that if it's just the nature that I'm surrounded by, or if it's just like, I don't know, a small pebble in the road. I just learned how to appreciate just everywhere I go. So for my artifacts, I chose photos of the Oak Grove campus that I took over my time at high school. And so my first artifact is a picture of the pathway over here. The pathway was the first place whenever I toured that I really got to see the campus. And I don't know if you guys were here long enough, but the person that I toured with, her name is Joy. She's Jules' mom, and she was really kind. And I just remember playing on the rocks when I first visited and seeing the ladybugs and butterflies, and that's when I truly saw the Oak Grove campus and really learned how to like appreciate it. And then photo 2 is a photo of the high school soccer field. You can see my lovely foot right there. So I not only learned how to appreciate beauty like just in nature or in creative means, but also with team building. There's a really, really beautiful way that it comes, and a lot of people don't think it's artistic, but like I think it really is, because you're able to just communicate with others and figure out like what works, what doesn't, and it's really awesome. And then this third photos is of the oak trees by the kindergarten classrooms. And I would go onto the steps of the kindergarten, and if I was like failing a test or just having anxiety, I tend to sit there and just look over and just kind of reflect on everything. I remember a lot in like freshman year, I would sit there because I'd fail like a history or Spanish test, and I would slowly cry about it. But yeah. So the art of carrying in relationships. So what the art of carrying relationship means to me is the understanding of oneself before helping others and being able to communicate with all others in an effective way. And my focus question is, in what way have you given back to the world? And the reason I chose like this focus question is because I feel like I've given back a lot to like the Oak Grove community, which is a part of the world, over my 13 years of being here. And yeah, it was so in my next my artifact, it is an email from Lori. So in 7th grade, I gave an assembly about my disability, and kind of just talking about myself and what it's like being the only disabled person at Oak Grove. And at first, I really thought it wasn't going to do like much. But then whenever I received this email, it really showed that like I had an impact on Miller and Clay, which are Lori's 2 children, and it really like meant a lot to me, and it made me realize that I want to continue doing this. And yeah, I'm getting a little emotional here, my God. So now for my senior project. So for my senior project, I did a slideshow presentation about all types of disabilities, invisible or visible. And so It was a slideshow presentation, and I went to every grade from the 3rd grade to middle school. And it was really awesome, and it was like all those kids are truly amazing. And so what made me decide on this particular project was, again, I gave the assembly in 7th grade, and it really made me realize that I want to pursue that type of stuff in my future. So when I heard about the Pathless project, that was kind of like a done deal that I was going to do something that revolves around disabilities, because I don't think in the school curriculums it gets as much attention as it should. So yeah, originally my project was going to input a disability program in the Oak Grove curriculum, but that didn't work because I ended up getting ill and I was out of Oak Grove for about 6 months. But instead, I was able to do speeches in every class from the 3rd grade to middle school, and I was able to really connect with the students more and have some open conversations and just hear what they have to say after I presented my slideshow. And it was really impactful, and it was really amazing. Okay, so how did my project contribute to the community? So I think my project contributed to the community because I was educating our future generation about disabilities and how to treat a disabled person and how to go about it, like what to do, what not to do, and I taught them about all different types of disabilities. I showed them examples of famous people that we know that have disabilities, some visible, some invisible. And so hopefully by my presentation, the kids will end up being more mindful of people with disabilities. And so how did the project challenge me? The project itself didn't challenge me. It was more of my health issues and the complications that happened that really challenged me, because when everybody was like halfway done with their projects, I was barely getting started, and it was absolutely terrible. And there's multiple nights where I was sobbing because I was trying to catch up. But in the end, it came. I did it. Woo! So how will this project influence my future? So this project really helped influence my future because it really helped motivate me to bring awareness about disabilities wherever I go. It really helped me, realize that, and that's important, because there was a time where I was ashamed of being disabled and I was very, very shy about it. I would get extremely mad if any of my classmates mentioned it, and I just didn't like being called out for it. But now I want people to notice me. I want people to ask me questions, and I want to help people understand, because a lot of people tend to not understand, and I know what it's like to be discriminated. And so hopefully with what I'm going to try to do in my future, people will get impacted and hopefully, correct another person if they're saying wrong things. Oh, I was a slide behind. I'm sorry, guys. You can see the slide. But yeah. Okay, so my final summary. As you can see, my lovely dog and my cat were in my cart. So for my artifact, I decided to pick my cart because and a lot of people remember I started using a cart in middle school, and it's been with me ever since. That cart has probably gone through more harder times than I have, because there's a time that I've just had to duct tape it together, and hope for the best. So everybody knew I brought my cart everywhere, and I started using it because I had a lot of difficulties with backpacks and zippers and the weight, and it was really affecting my back. So, so I got or my dad recommended me getting a cart, and I was like really opposed to it at first, and then really embarrassed the first day I brought it, and I was like, oh my gosh, people are gonna be like, ew, she's so weird. Why the hell is she bringing a cart? Ooh, my language. So then that didn't happen. People asked me like, why are you bringing a cart? I'm like, oh, it's because it hurts my back. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not as strong as you guys. But so by the end of high school though, like people kind of knew me for my cart, and just kind of like, it made me unique. And people have even expressed like, oh, you're so smart for bringing a cart. And I'm like, yeah, no back issues. And so, yeah. And so my cart kind of symbolizes like my experience with a disability, because, you know, even though you're different and you get pointed out for being different, eventually like people just understand. Even if it takes 1,000 tries to get them to understand, eventually we get there. So looking forward to life after Oak Grove. So again, after graduation, I'll be attending Santa Barbara City College, and then transferring out to UCSB. And what I'm nervous about is the social difference, because since I'm going to community college, there's gonna be like thousands of more kids, and I've been used to the very like knowing everybody, and since I've been here for so long, you know, I know pretty much everybody's backstories and upbringings, and you know. So when I go to SBCC, I won't know anybody besides like Gray and Harrison, and I'm gonna be very nervous, and hopefully it'll go good. But what I'm excited about is the experiences I'm going to have, because I feel like going to a much bigger environment will help me learn more about myself and, you know, help me grow. And I really hope that the person I'll be when I graduate college is going to be an even like more confident version of myself today. So for my artifact, I chose a picture of the SBCC campus, SBCC, and it's the view. And so I'm really excited for the beach life that's coming with moving to Santa Barbara and going to SBCC. And I know I'll probably be spending most of my days studying and on the grass hill and looking at the beach and really just like reflecting. And while I'm both really nervous and excited for what comes next, Oak Grove will always be extremely special to me because it's been my home for a lot of my life. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional again. I'm so sorry, guys. So yeah, thank you. Hi. So any questions? Ula.
What are you planning on studying?
I am going to study business management. Any other questions? No? Okay, awesome. Oh wait, Earl?
What feature are you particularly excited about?
Oh. Honestly, wherever there's a beach, I'm just excited because there's water, and I've always grown up with water. Kind of like what you were saying, Earl, like just seeing water and being in water is really refreshing to me since I've always been around it. And some of you guys been to where I live I'm literally surrounded by water. So, yeah.
Thank you.
From what I understand, there's some debate between Robert and Victoria about who was here longer. Perhaps that debate will be settled in this final presentation.
All right. I'm Robert. Okay. You can hear me from here? Yeah. All right, sweet. I've been at Oak Grove since preschool, which both feels like far too long and not nearly long enough. I joined because my parents really liked the teachers in the preschool, and I ended up staying up through senior year. There were times when I wanted to switch schools, but I'm really happy that I ended up staying through the whole thing.
Me too.
Thank you. So, yeah. For my art of academia, what that means to me is the way that you apply yourself in STEM-like subjects in school, being like math, science, and the E and M, science, tech, whatever. My focus question involves me dealing with procrastination and how I learned to figure it out. I chose this because it's been a big issue for a lot of my life. Procrastination plagued me for a long time. And through my high school years, I've slowly started to deal with it, and it's been very difficult. So for my first artifact, I think it's the one, I don't know which side it's on for you, but it's the English essay, on the left, thank you. That would be the good first draft that I got 0.01 out of 3. Now, a little backstory for that. The reason it is 0.01 is because it wasn't, I don't think I turned it in. And he didn't want it to be marked as missing, so he gave me a fraction of a point so that it wouldn't be marked as missing. Yeah. My other artifact is my graduation speech, which you guys will be hearing in a couple days, which was completed much before the due date. And I think shows a big step of growth between, I think, freshman year and senior year. There were a lot of techniques I tried to deal with this procrastination issue. A couple of them, one of them I call the 5-minute rule. If you can do something in under 5 minutes, which is like writing an email or making a phone call or correcting your spelling, just do it immediately. You don't have to set aside time for that, just because it's so quick that getting those little things out of your way makes it much easier. Another thing I really liked is the Pomodoro method. It's basically, you set yourself a timer, 20 minutes of straight work without distracting yourself, and then 5 minutes of doing whatever you want. It can be on Instagram, and then back to the 20 minutes of work. That really helped me keep myself entertained while I worked, because I was looking forward to finishing this large chunk of work. I think that making flashcards and studying math the night before helped me, although I wasn't the most rigorous with making flashcards, and I would often forget and not do it. Up next, I have the art of aesthetics. To me, that means non-STEM learning in school. That's more musical, art, that could look like music or poetry, art, anything kind of like that. The focus question I picked was, how have I learned to find beauty in what I do? I chose this question because I've struggled a lot to be happy with the things that I create, if there isn't a specific right way and wrong way to do it, because it's more self-directed and whether you get it right or not, I guess. You don't have a grade telling you whether you did it correctly. So struggling to find whether I feel like I did my best on something that isn't graded was very difficult for me. This artifact is a poem I wrote in poetry. It's symbolic of this whole art because poetry is something that really helped me learn to love what I create. It's difficult for me to share these kinds of things, like the vulnerable and authenticity. but I felt like in poetry class it really let me open up, and I can share these sensitive feelings, even though it can be very difficult. Yeah, over time it got a lot easier, and I feel like I can be proud of what I write. And even in music class, like I think I took music freshman and sophomore year, and I was a little, to be honest, I was a little scared because I would start playing a song and Clark, Gwen, and Isis would be finishing it up, and I'd be learning the first chords. And that kind of freaked me out and actually made me not take music junior year. But it was really great being around people who were as passionate as they were for something that they really enjoy. And that helped me a lot, like figuring out how I should be feeling about these topics. I think I'm not the best at these, but I think I'm not afraid of showing what I'm able to do. Up next, we have the art of caring in relationships. To me, the art of caring in relationships means the way that you display yourself in social situations with your peers. And my focus question is, how have I fostered relationships with these other people? Now, I chose this focus question because my relationships are a very important part of who I am, and the way I conduct myself in them is very important to me. I think that you are the people you surround yourself by, and friends are the family you choose. So it's great to have people who are always by your side. This artifact is me and a couple of my friends in Hawaii. Do I? I think it's without the horrible beard. Yeah, this artifact is me and my friends in Hawaii. I think it's symbolic because it was the start of a little journey that we all had together, my class, in a new state that was different than Oak Grove. Yeah, so I think I've tried to learn how to be a better friend, and there are different strategies that I've like figured out. And, like this all applies to friends, but I guess the more you put into your friendships, the more you get out. Kind of like Earl was saying, if you guys heard that, it's difficult just being friends in school. You have to take everything the extra step and try to seek out time to spend with these other people, and that can really help you feel more connected. I like to think of it as the Oak Grove school style, because it's just such a small school and you can't really write anyone off and ignore them. You really have to get to know them. Up next, we do have the art of inquiry. Oh yeah, me with my long hair. So to me, the art of inquiry means being inquisitive of the surroundings that you find yourself in and learning from that. Now, my focus question is, how have I learned more about myself and the world around me? And I chose this question because I think that knowledge and a deep understanding of the things that happen around you is very important. They help you discover things about yourself in the way that you approach them. So my artifact here is me after getting my pilot's learner's permit. And thank you. Yeah, it's super symbolic because it was something that I never expected to be doing. It actually all started many years ago. Me and my dad would try to figure out how many balloons it would take to lift someone up in a chair. And we were like seriously planning it out until my mom finally came up and told me, you should try getting your pilot's license. It might be a little safer. I thought that was a good idea. So I kind of started then. Yeah, these experiences taught me a lot more about the way I approach the world I live in. Even the small, like sitting in a classroom learning about wind dynamics, taught me about the way I learn and how it's a lot easier to have one-on-one conversations with the teacher, which is something I unfortunately will not really be able to have next year, which I will get to later. So a little teaser for that. Yeah, because of these experiences and the things that I've learned, I feel a lot more confident in my opinions and the way I voice them, because I feel like I've this much more experience under my belt. Up next is my senior project. As you might guess by the slide, it involves making music on my computer. Now, I decided on this project because ever since Max joined, I've talked to him about making music, and in the beginning, it wasn't really a reality for either of us. But eventually he started buying the supplies and he started making music, and I never really did. I just kept talking about it. But I think that that kind of really influenced me. And when the options were set to have this project, I really kind of jumped at the opportunity because oh shoot, as soon as I thought about it, I realized that that's kind of what I wanted to do. So this project changed a lot over the course of the 10 days plus the weekend before. I came into it completely blind. The only thing I had was a couple of YouTube videos, and Max lent me his keyboard, and that was really all I had going into it. It was a big struggle. My plan was to make 3 different songs, and just through all of these struggles, I was really only able to make one that I was really happy with. So this project did not really help me develop, change my worldview. I think that it's important to create. Creativity is really important to me. But I think that it did develop a little bit of a sense of purpose for me, because I know that it's something that I'm very interested in and I want to continue in the future. I think that having these things that you can, interests at least, really help you make yourself who you are. So some of the struggles I went through with this project, the programs that you use to put everything together, basically the first one didn't work because I couldn't get the keyboard connected to that one. And I was like, all right, I'm going to switch to another free one. That one didn't work because the sound bites weren't just fitting in. All right, that didn't work. The third one, I don't even remember what was wrong. I think the keyboard, sound pad just, didn't want to listen to the program. And it was, a whole thing. And I talked with Eric a lot. I met with him over Zoom meetings to figure this out. I sent a couple angry 2 a.m. emails to Will that I totally, that I didn't know what I was doing. But eventually, I just bit the bullet and I bought a program. And it really worked very well. I think, this project will influence me in the future. I think that I've been interested in music creation a long time, and even though I was running into these obstacles, I think I want to continue making music in the future. So I would love to play the soundbite. Now, my inspiration for this was a Daft Punk song called Veritas Quo, and it starts out as a very simple tune, and then slowly, as the 2 minutes or whatever go by, it slowly gets more and more complicated. So that's kind of what I was going for. Eric told me afterwards that there were things that were kind of different. It's offbeat on purpose. I just want you guys to know. So.
What's it called?
It's Untitled.
What's your musician name?
Robert. And this is a picture of the program I ended up using. We have a little hi-hat in now. All right, so that's what I ended up making. It's an odd number of bars. The beat is slightly uneven, and I ended up, if you look at on the bottom line, the blue sounds, I basically cut each individual one and pasted them throughout the song because I didn't know how to blend them together and copy and paste the big ones, so I just did each one individually, which took a lot of time. But yeah, even with all these things not showing up and not working, I ended up making something that I'm really happy with. Now, looking back on my time in high school, for the most part, I'm looking at all the people that helped me grow, because I've discovered that, well, learning in school is very important. You're not learning the actual topics that you're being taught. You're learning how to learn, I guess, for college when you decide your path. So I figured that looking at the people that brought me to where I am is kind of what I want to be doing. So this artifact is us in Hawaii playing our speed tournament, which Nicola actually won. Yeah. I was going to get a photo of us playing poker, but there were really no good ones. Yeah, so basically I've gone through a lot with my class, and they've changed a lot. People have come in and people have gone. My class has changed a lot from preschool when I came, before Victoria, actually. But it's for like a couple months. Ask my parents. Anyway, it's been great every step of the way since the 3-day preschool, before regular preschool. Yeah, and I'm really happy that people built me into the person that I am today, and I definitely wouldn't be the same without them. Love you too, Lily. All right, looking forward. Arizona State University is where that is where I'm headed in the fall. Getting a little comfortable here. Now, yeah, pitchforks. Okay. Arizona State University is a big difference from the 16-person classes I have now, as I have about 1,000 times more people. There are 80,000 undergraduates on my campus, and I am one of them. I'm excited to move to this this beautiful campus if you look at it, but I'm a little nervous to be without the people that I've grown up with in such like a high stakes scenario. This artifact symbolizes my feelings on it, because it's a gorgeous campus, but it does reach 120 degrees. So you have to take the highs with the lows, if you catch my drift. Yeah, I know I'm gonna have to push myself, and I'm excited to see where it'll take me. Thank you. Do we have any questions?
If you left, over why did you leave?
Like, why was I going to leave?
No, like the third grade thing that.
Oh, we went to New York for 6 months.
But you were still enrolled.
I was still enrolled. I was here before preschool. All right, thank you guys so much.
Hello and welcome everybody to my Gateway presentation. As you can tell, I couldn't make it there in person, because I caught COVID. But, we're gonna adapt to this and make it the best we can. All right, so without further ado, this is the gateway to me, Maxwell Arce. So a little bit about myself. I was actually born in Miami, Florida, and I lived there for about 7 years until my mom broke the news to me and my sisters that we were going to be moving to Ojai. And even though at the time I thought she meant Ohio, I wasn't at all disappointed to this new home that I'd grow to know and love. And with college around the corner, the home I'll probably grow to miss. So then what led me to Oak Groves High School? Well, when I was a freshman, I was attending Villanova Preparatory School, and in my personal experience, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And I didn't really feel like I could express my full self, and I was really struggling to make a great connection with my classmates. And at that time, though, my sister Tasha, she was attending Oak Grove. And when I finally opened up to her about my struggles at school, she found it the perfect opportunity to sell me on Oak Grove. But it really didn't take much convincing because I'd already noticed just how happy she was to go to school every day. And so thanks to her final push, I made up my mind and I got my mom's full support. And that was a stroke of genius because that sophomore year was just blowing my expectations away. And I was so happy to find new friends, and I just knew that they would be in my life for a long time. But what I did have to face later towards the year was this great challenge that no one saw coming. So later that year, the pandemic swept through the country, and it was very difficult for me to be separated from the school and my classmates just when I was beginning to feel so comfortable. I am someone who believes that everything unfolds how it's meant to, but this was just such a major bump in the road that I really had to work to push through. And it's totally wild to see how it still affects everybody today, and of course me at this very moment. But when we finally came back to school, things did have to be drastically changed to adapt with the new world we lived in. So for me, it wasn't a smooth transition into what I had remembered the year before, but the school, it offered me knowledge and opportunities for me to step outside of my comfort zone and understand more about myself. And that's where these 4 arts come in. So first, we have the arts of academia, and I chose this focus question because I feel like it's critical to all of my studies and classes at school, which is, how did your high school experience help you discover your strengths and deal with your weaknesses? Something that's really stood out to me about my experience at Oak Grove has been that I feel like it's given me the ability to look within myself and learn that the challenges I've faced academically and in my productivity are all stemmed from my own patterns of thinking. So realizing that my greatest weaknesses are rooted in the perspectives I've made a habit of has led me to discover that by organizing my mind and learning more about my negative habits, I can reprogram those flaws. And this is also a great example of how high school has given me the proper tools to develop what I think is my greatest strength, which is creative solutions to problems. So the creative solution I had to this challenge was to start a video journal that documented my productivity, and it showed my progress on holding myself accountable. And so for this quarantine, actually, I have started a little series dedicated to these lockdowns. These journals are pretty personal, but I made a sped up version of one so that you can get the general idea. And with that, now we have the art of aesthetics. So the focus question I chose was, in what ways has high school helped you discover and appreciate beauty? Classes like art and photography greatly have led me to rediscover my spontaneous instincts, and I'm now applying them to my art style. It's brought me a new confidence in my creative projects, and I couldn't find an old example of my art style I had before, but to describe it, I can say that I was being too careful and it missed the expression that I was holding in. And now I try to step outside of my comfort zone and test different things when I draw. I have some artifacts here of the art style that I've grown into. So this is a pretty recent drawing I've done, and as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I try and start it without everything already pictured in my head. So I start a place and just kind of let my hand do the rest of the work. And here's another artifact I have from a student council retreat. And I remember the assignment kind of like forced us to be spontaneous because they only gave us like 5 minutes or something. All right, up next we have the art of engagement. And the focus question I chose for this one is, what have you discovered about the way that you learn? So most educations have taught me it takes years of school before being able to pursue your dreams. But at Oak Grove, I've never felt that I need to limit what I shoot for because of a fear that I'll look silly or uneducated. I now know that it's vital for my learning environment to push me outside of my comfort zone and try new things that maybe I'm not even ready for. So I have some excellent examples of how Oak Grove has done this for me. I've never been a great singer or at all felt compelled to try and be one, but this semester I agreed to be the lead singer for a song and music class. Not because I thought I would be amazing or that I had practiced enough, but because I just felt comfortable with Oak Grove's environment. And so I knew that nobody would judge me for it, and so why not? The same exact thing has happened with emceeing for Showcase, which has really gave me a great opportunity to just practice public speaking and just be more comfortable on stage. And now the fourth and final one, the art of communication. The focus question is, give an example of a breakthrough moment in terms of being able to communicate on paper or verbally. And where my mind goes immediately is without a doubt the controversial speech on junior year. At that time, I was incredibly passionate about AI, and being given the opportunity to choose any topic was really exciting because I knew what I was going to do. Why this was a breakthrough moment for me is because looking back at the speech, when I was giving it, I just got lost in the passion I had for AI. And because of that passion, I just genuinely felt like I needed to communicate to the crowd my message. And that's when it hit me that by letting that fire drive my actions and my words, this confidence followed that took me out of my head and made me speak through my heart. Since then, my opinions on AI have changed a lot, but that research I did stuck with me to this day and ended up helping me a lot on my senior project. Very conveniently, the next slide is my senior project, Maples Grove. So the project I set out on was to write and illustrate a short book. Each chapter in the book would start out with a mythical creature that acted as a metaphor for a global issue. My intention with this book was to come up with a different way to motivate and educate people about pursuing change in the world's most pressing issues. So an example of one of these creatures I wanted to make would have been Ember, which represented global warming. And then I'd write about all of the things that Ember does and Ember's weaknesses, how you can battle it. But during the days of trying to execute this project, something just wasn't clicking. And that's when I came to the realization that I was taking the wrong approach to my intention. Bringing more people's focus down to all of the negative problems instead of the positive solutions really doesn't get us anywhere. So my new approach to the book's characters was to make them creatures of empowerment, ones that would show us the strength of the people and the qualities each person has to dramatically help us vanquish the world's most unnecessary issues. And calling back to when I discussed how AI aided me in this project, I decided to embrace the intelligence of an amazing platform that demonstrated the very positive capabilities AI has to bring our visions to fruition. This platform allows you to input a drawing you made, pictures you took, or simply words you wrote, and then it expands it into something straight out of a dream. So here's a creature that makes an appearance in the first chapter of the book. Her name is Maré Nova, which means new wave in Portuguese. She's a goddess of tsunamis and is meant to represent the beginning of a better cycle. She's the only creature that first started as a human. And the story she has is about how the town her and her family built becomes corrupted by greed, but she is able to bring on a new revolution that ends the darkness which has taken over the town. And here are some of the other creatures in the book. These particular photos depict creatures called guardians from the chapter called Spiral. The creatures represent the powerful connection people have to creativity, and how many have lost that connection. but by finding our inner child, we can regain that gift we once had. Even though I had to go through a revelation to continue making this book, it is so important to me that I was given the time to explore this idea I've had for a while. And now I have my aspiration for the summer, which is to complete the final draft of this book and maybe even try and get it published. All right, now moving on from here, I'm headed to the Big Apple. There you can see a picture of me, my two sisters, and my mom that was taken in New York. And both my sisters actually live there, which is one of the big reasons why I've felt so compelled to try and move there as well. The college I'm heading to is Pratt Institute. This art school is located in Brooklyn, New York, and my selected major is Critical and Visual Studies, which is the wide-ranging study of all art forms. It is also a malleable major that allows you to focus on the art you're passionate about, which for me would be film. And what led me to apply was Miss Phyllis and her awesomeness. My family friend, Miss Phyllis, recommended that I apply to Pratt, and on a whim, I did some research and decided to go for it. Here's a look at the cool campus. As you can see, Pratt actually has a really beautiful campus, and what's cool about that is it's one of the only schools in New York to have a true campus like that. And this is another huge factor that led me to commit. And last but not least, my final summary. I would definitely use the word wild to describe the ups, downs, and awesome adventures I've gotten to experience at Oak Grove. That's why I chose the book Where the Wild Things Are as the artifact that symbolizes my high school journey. But honestly, I would even say it could symbolize my entire life's journey. This is because when I was 1 year old, both of my parents put together a Where the Wild Things Are themed party for my first birthday. And since that top-notch party, I've sailed away from that part of myself, and I've forgotten how integral those childhood memories are to my core. But miraculously, I made this incredible decision to attend Oak Grove, and these few years have brought me closer to my core self than I've ever felt. So I just want to thank everyone, to my teachers, my friends, and of course my mom, who has helped me get through this crazy journey that we call high school. And I can't wait for the wild memories that await me in the Big Apple.